not too sure where to start with episode 3. Out of all the episodes so far, I found episode 3 a bit awkward. Not a bit awkward, very awkward. There was just so many... I can't even find the words. We saw the scene with Ian out in the garden. I don't know what time of the morning he was out there in the dark, looking like a creep and making me very uncomfortable. If I was looking out my window at that time of morning, I'll be thinking, let me call the police, because there's something not right here. Then we saw him hide her red jacket of a morning because he doesn't want her to wear the red jacket. We know what that was all about. He didn't want her to get too much attention by wearing that red jacket. His jealous streak was coming out all over again. When we saw both Emma and Jamie at the conference, that dynamic was horrible. He was arrogant, as per usual. She was yapping behind him like a little puppy, as per usual. I really couldn't understand what she saw in him. But it's something to do with his management, him being higher than her wanting to impress him with her knowledge of business and work and whatever. I'm tired. I'm just tired. You saw him zoning out every time she spoke. He was not interested. Not in the slightest. And we could later learn why he was behaving the way he was behaving. Because we find out later that this guy snorts cocaine. When she found that one out, the rose-coloured glasses came off. She saw him for who he was. This little weak boy that has issues with his mother. The respect she had for him was gone. And I liked how she started to come out of herself a little bit more when put in that position. I thought, oh, so you have got a backbone. You do have an opinion. And she told him how she felt. It was at this point that my opinion of her started to change. I like this Emma. We again saw another scene with Ian at the gym. Again, with this young lady, Maxine. He's just creeping her out. And why do we keep showing this scene? Oh, this is tiring. Again, it doesn't make any sense to me. We then saw another scene with Ian sitting on the stairs of his home, blowing up his wife's phone. I counted 5 times. Back to back to back to back. He was calling her. And because he didn't get a response, the next scene we saw was him in the car park of the conference hotel. Standing by Mr. Jamie's car. And then we saw what happened next. This man vandalised the car. He was doing the most. And the alarm went off. And still, he was still at it. I just, that scene, I didn't understand. Who does that? The minute alarm goes off, you run off, don't you? Isn't that normally how it goes? But my man was still there, kicking away at the car, mashing at the mirrors, and no one saw nothing? Doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the producer or directors were thinking. That there doesn't make any sense. Except, of course, the amount of jealousy he holds. But the scene itself didn't make any sense whatsoever. Then we saw a scene where Ian was shopping for, what was it called again? Revitalising shower gel. That scene made no sense. Why did you waste 10 minutes of our time on that scene? We then saw scenes of Jessica meeting up with this new guy, or bumping into this new guy called Mark. Now, he was a breath of fresh air, I will say that, for her. Because hopefully she's woken up to think, this is what love's about. This is how it should be. This is how a relationship should look like. Compared to the one that she's in with Adam. The prick. But I did find the scenes very long on this one. It could easily have been condensed. Moving on. We then saw Emma come home from the conference, and you could cut the air with a knife. There was a lot of small talk about the conference, beating around the bush, who she met, how was it, the whole 9 yards. But the real question that he really wanted to know was, how was Jamie? Yep. How was Jamie? Did you go to his room? Did he go to your room? She turned around and said, Jamie had an early night. And still, he's talking about Jamie. I don't know what it is. I still don't get it. Why is he jealous of this guy? Is it because of his status? Does he think his wife would be more attracted to someone like him? I sort of get it. Because we saw how doughy-eyed she was when she's around him. So that makes sense in a way. But the jealousy, ooh, that's just too much. The more I see of Ian, the more I see low self-esteem. The next scene we saw was him downstairs crying in the conservatory. So you saw Emma come to sit by him, and she started talking about how he was strong for her when she lost their child, Nicholas, and how he was the backbone for her to eat, to get out of bed every morning. Also, the strength he had with her family, plus the strength he had with his mum, even though those family members were shit. I'm going to say it. Absolutely terrible. He plodded along and held things together. Now we see him break down. It's all just got too much. She became that strength for him. That's what we saw here. Initially, he didn't want her to touch him when he was crying. But then we did see her come over to hug him. So that was nice to see. And it sort of sums up this relationship. Initially, when we saw it at the beginning, they were very separate when they cried, especially in that graveyard, that scene there. But here, you're starting to see the depths of this relationship. This scene I really liked. It got me emotional. And the last scene was with them out in the garden talking about Jessica. Ian mentioned about Jessica calling his phone last night. She tried calling the mum first, didn't get through to her, so she called the dad. And he was elated to talk about it. It looks as though she calls her mum all the time and doesn't call the dad, from what I gather here. So this episode ended on a good note, with them talking about their daughter and how they didn't think she believed in marriage. But from what we're gathering here, she could see herself marrying this new guy. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens in the next episode. So this is where I sign off. If you like what you heard, please like, comment and subscribe. Till next time.